audio. All right. Hello, everybody. It's finally time to start this. Sorry, I was gone. We pulled a Russia. We, our AD shot down our own F-15s while they were passing overhead, which implies there was some severe, uh, dishonorable discharge or court-martial worthy failure of internal communication. Now, there's a bad history of no one actually getting punished for such things happening, so I don't expect anybody will. But one can hope. All right. So for everybody who's here already, blah blah blah. Yeah, sorry, didn't do anything over the weekend because I was away, and it started literally within a few hours of me and my mother starting to drive. So there was nothing I could do. I was in internet blackout because we went up to West Virginia, one of the few places in the world where I will tell you every stereotype you've heard about it is 120% accurate. Uh, there was uh, there is nothing there. Civilization abandoned that place a long time ago. Like every other house we saw around my uncle's place in this general area up here was like a hybrid baby of a house and a trailer, and half of them were like partially sunken into the ground, and the other half were like didn't even have proper, like, a regular house will have you know nice straight vertical walls and stuff. These things were like and the roof caves like that, and then the wall buckles and it's like that, and there's all these kinds of like splits in between like the wood frames, and there were just like random piles of garbage like sitting in people's lawns, if you could call them lawns. And some of the items in that garbage, I have no idea how these people got a hold of those things. There were also just like random fires burning in like pits in the ground, with no one nearby. Like no one was attending them or watching them. I don't know what was burning in those. There was no context to these fires. There were just random fires burning in the night. Plenty of the house slash trailers that we passed by had Confederate flags and KKK hoods hanging on the porch, and uh, quite a number of people we passed by who were like walking around, when they opened their mouth to either just stare at us as we drove by or to smile and wave at us, they had like quite a few missing teeth. So, yeah, West Virginia, that was an experience. But we were going up there to visit my uncle Stephen, because that would be potentially the last time we saw him alive before his heart surgery, because there's a fair risk you can die during that. But big happy news, he did survive the surgery, and the whole surgery was successful. So he's alive, and now because of said surgery, he's going to be alive for many more years after this. So praise God, that was all successful. And my mother staying up there with him for a few weeks. So to come back down, I got to fly again for the first time in almost 6 years. I got back into one portion of my natural habitat, and it was awesome. I didn't get as many pictures as I would have liked because of the time that I flew at, and because the people who had the window seats were not in the mood to trade them. Normally, I would choose the window seat myself, but choosing your seat is an extra $100 these days, usually. And I'm no longer in the income position to be able to freely dispose of an extra $100 because my parents were only gonna go for the cheapest ticket option. All right, that should be enough time for people to show up, right? Yeah, West Virginia was something. All right, we got 11 of you already. All right, that's good. Later on, I'm gonna show some of the pictures and videos that I took around West Virginia and of the aviation stuff. No, we're supposed to be in bookmarks. Just so because I haven't been able to show off any photography that I've done for a while. But I'll go over everything I'm supposed to do for my quote unquote job first. So, uh, as suspected, to the surprise of no one, right as I lost the ability to use the internet until getting back last night, the Iran stuff started. So we, US, are launching everything from everywhere, and Israel, which for some reason, some people in chat even I for some reason thought wasn't going to be doing anything, which I have no idea where that idea would be coming from. Israel would always jump at the chance to do this. So this is way more than the June war. This is for the time being the big deal. We are bombing anything and everything, and the Iranian Air Force did actually try to do something. The aircraft that got off the ground got shot down pretty easily and pretty quickly. Uh, Qatar, with its tiny joke of a military, even actually took out two of Iran's jets on its own. It was not just the US and Israel. And the remainder of their air force was wiped out on the ground. Now, presumably, draw a question mark, presumably most of those aircraft that were still on the ground probably were not operable because Iran's air force has degraded over time. And remember, it primarily consisted of uh, ancient MiGs and ancient F-4 Phantoms and stuff, and some F-14 Tomcats. But the Air Force is gone, so everything coming from Iran is just just long range missiles. That's their big thing, anyways, and it's not certain exactly like how many they have hidden in bunkers under the mountains. The uh, the main limiting or halting factor to how much they can do with those is again the launch vehicles because uh, a missile isn't like a spear. You don't just, for one, obviously you can't pick it up with your arm, but whether cruise missile or ballistic missile being launched from land, it requires an actual like special vehicle setup with the launcher and the we'll say the radar and communication guidance thing. Then you have the whole launcher and whatever. Then the fire comes out here, and the missile goes up, or multiple if it's multiple being launched from one truck. So the specialized launcher vehicles, those are the actual like limiting factor. That once all of those or most of those are gone, Iran's retaliation ability will effectively be gone, regardless of how many missiles they have left, like hidden under the mountains. And they have way more missiles than they do actual missile launch vehicles because the idea in war is that you'll reuse and keep getting to launch missiles from the same individual vehicle. But in this case, they're pretty much getting taken out as soon as they fire. as there are constant F-35s, 22s, and now, or at first it was just them. Now it's other aircraft because now the sky is effectively freely available. But Iran has managed to get off quite a few rounds of those. And to my surprise, I don't know why I zoomed in there. To my surprise, I can't draw that surprised dude meme face because I'm not an artist. That's Anya's job. But I'll just draw a question mark because this is the best I can do. To my surprise, Iran has kind of gone more with the spazzy psycho move of just firing effectively just at random and at everyone. They're like I thought if they were going to back up the threat to attack everyone, they would do something really strategic, like attack, uh, the oil and gas infrastructure. That was like their big threat. So attack Ras Tanura in Saudi Arabia, where 80% of Saudi Arabia's oil exports go through. Attack the ports of Basra and whatever Kuwait calls its port. To do something strategic like that. But instead, they've been doing a mix of everything. So they fired missiles at the UAE, and a couple got through. Like I said, if you guys have been watching my streams for the last few weeks leading up to this, I said that I would expect, based on previous stuff, I would expect a 10% penetration rate through the air defense net if they don't hypersaturate one target. If they super saturated towards one target, like say if they had fired everything at the UAE, for example, instead of the wide spread across everyone that they did, then you could probably get about 30% of their stuff coming through. But they've done a wide, sporadic firing everywhere, and they got some hits on Dubai, not on the oil infrastructure though. They hit a couple of hotels, which I mean, maybe that's supposed to be like uh, a my brain is working. I promise. Symbolic. Maybe that was meant to be like a symbolic middle finger to the Emirati billionaires. I guess they hit a few hotels. They they caused the collapse of one of the uh, come waste well, one of those mega like rich shopping malls where as opposed to the in a regular mall anywhere else in the world, you have the little shop stands like in the middle of the hallway as you're walking down. There'll be like the little rollable cart stands sort of, and people will be selling. There'll be someone in there selling stuff like face paint or fake jewelry. Well, in or did like yeah, knockoff imitation versions of like Gucci bags or whatever. Well, the stuff, and then some rich malls will sell like the actual items. In Dubai, you have ridiculous malls where they sell things that you cannot possibly afford. Like they sell phone cases for like your phone, except the phone case is this is a real thing made of pure gold, and they will uh, embezzle your name or your initials in actual like full whatever the maximum number of carat diamonds is. They will engrave your or embezzle your name in diamonds across the back of your pure gold phone case. So one of the mega rich waste your life savings malls in Dubai was kind of collapsed by some impacts there, and one did hit the Dubai airport DXB, but that did not do too much damage to the airport. It caused It basically, if you're familiar, if you've been in airports a lot and you're familiar with like the general layout and the size of like one seating area, usually will be split between two gates. It caused the rough destruction and ceiling cave in of one uh, double gate seated area. Uh, Another hotel was supposedly hit just a few hours ago in Abu Dhabi. So instead of the oil infrastructure or even like the military stuff, Iran in Dubai or in the UAE's case really seems to be trying to target all of the luxury symbols. So we'll do a cross out of that. That seems to be the priority there. They also struck a high-rise luxury hotel in Manama in Bahrain. However, in Bahrain, they actually did also strike something of actual strategic value, and that was the very thing that I used for the thumbnail. Actually, let's go to the thumbnail. Downloads. It's at the bottom here. So you remember a few streams ago, I told you that one of the signs that that it was about to start was that the remaining Fifth Fleet naval vessels that were at the naval base in Bahrain had all left port and had gone out to sea. That was one of the actual strategic targets that Iran went for, and they did get some hits in. Based, obviously, you can probably tell from experience with all the streams on the Ukraine war stuff. From the smoke, they hit. They primarily hit some of the fuel, the marine fuel storage tanks at the base. Now, had there been naval vessels at the base, those obviously would have been the better targets. But it was just the base itself. So, oil storage tanks, or sorry, marine fuel, yeah, maritime fuel storage tanks. That was probably the best pick. I mean, other than like the radars and the communication station stuff, uh, slightly, uh, probably of equal value, but a lot of that could be like more quickly replaced. So that was one area where their choices actually made sense. But again, hitting like the random hotel stuff, kind of like not sure what you're going for there. Over in Israel, they have lobbed several waves of and we lost Epic Pen. Let me fix that. There we go. And I might as well look at chat while I'm here. Oops, no, switch back to mouse. Okay. Let's see, blah blah blah. Uh, I don't I don't know. And we already have cringe mockery. There we go. Congratulations, you accomplished so much. I don't know. That was probably just like a strategic call because that's another asking about stuff or uh, getting them ready to fight some of the proxy groups because they have already started doing stuff. There have been multiple clashes across. Whoa, that is way too small. There we go. Across Iraq with the Iraqi military and some of the various pro-Iran groups there. The embassy in Erbil was hit by several strikes, as we do have two separate embassies, two different consulates. Even though we technically, at political face value, recognize Iraq as a singular country. We do have have one in Baghdad and one in Erbil up in Kurdistan. The one in Erbil was hit a couple times. The damage was not too much, and they fired at the one in Baghdad, but they did not get direct hits. They did impact some of like the roads nearby. Thankfully, to my knowledge, they didn't. There were no like random Iraqi like drivers on their daily work commute or whatever. They were hit by that. But there have also been a lot of clashes in Baghdad between the Iraqi military and the mix of. It's not a singular group. It's the Islamic Revolution Alliance or whatever. It's multiple different groups that supports that operate with Iran's supports that all each kind of have their different desires and different aims and stuff. But over in Israel, they got a few hits on Jerusalem and a few hits on Tel Aviv, which ended up again similar to Dubai and Manama. They ended up kind of being they ended up kind of being just random buildings, which is again that's with me again. bruh, that's why I'm saying they're kind of just going schizo with it because they've targeted actual military bases and hardware in Israel before, especially some of the stuff in the south, and they got some hits on it in the in the past when they've done several missile waves against Israel previously. But this time they just excuse me. I said switch back to the mouse cursor. But this time they're just kind of going hee haw and just shooting wherever. Hezbollah managed to cobble some rockets together and started firing some stuff. They used what Shahid drones they still had on hand to launch over at Cyprus at the UK's base over there, and they got a hit on the base. They did some damage to the runway and to one of the buildings. I don't know if it was a hangar or it was like a tool, not a tool shed. That's more of a like house homestead thing, but whatever the proper like military base term for what's effectively a tool shed would be. So now in response to that, I know it would be considered a separate conflict maybe, but it's kind of tied in with the Iran stuff. So in response to that, the IDF has now started bombing Lebanon again, and they've also they're going with Iran's approach in regards to that because the IDF is actually going schizo with this. Not that they haven't before, but now they started bombing Beirut and are actually just hitting random apartment buildings. The stuff in the south has actually been Hezbollah targets, but the stuff in Beirut they're just going after like the tallest apartment buildings and having the collapse of those also knock down the buildings around them. Casualty count from all that uncertain, but there's also mass panic and evacuations underway as Israel warns everyone in southern Lebanon that they should get out. So everyone's fleeing from southern Lebanon, but now everyone's fleeing from Beirut as well. So no idea where everyone's gonna go and choose to wait things out. But roads are jammed and everything around Lebanon as everyone's fleeing from everywhere to everywhere. Uh, Kuwait. So they launched some stuff at Kuwait. They did not manage to hit anything belonging to Kuwait. They did manage to get some stuff through and hit the U.S. base in Kuwait. And the 6 U.S. service members that have been killed were all people at that base because they were literally in the same room. They were in uh, one of the mobile tactical operation centers. So the stereotypical, it doesn't have the same lighting, and the screens aren't like as seamlessly fused together. They're literally just wide computer screens set up one next to another, hung on a wall. But the uh, the stereotypical thing you see in movies was like the dark room, except the lights are actually on in reality. But the room was everything's like full of computer screens, and you got the nerds at the computers following the orders and uh, giving information to the colonel or lieutenant colonels that are like pacing back and forth behind them. My dad was in a few of those rooms in his time, so thus is how I know from him that at least almost everyone, with the exception of one that he was in, almost all of them, that they always, the lights are just on. Everything is normal. No one's in this like weird uh mood setting dark blue lighting because that just burns your eyes. And you're already going to be looking at computer screens for like 12 hours a day. But all 6 U.S. service members that died were in that place because they were in the same room. Uh, let's see. Naval stuff, as I said before, Iran does not really have a navy. It has some naval vessels, but they're not going to do anything. They were just going to be destroyed immediately. And would you look at that? They were destroyed immediately. So they had four frigates or corvettes. It depends on your personal definition. And they're a drone carrier. Those were destroyed. So total of 5 actual naval vessels. Now I know for the uh, big heavy breathing speech, Trump said like 9 or 10. That is because Trump is including their naval tugboats in that list, but I don't include those because a naval tugboat is just a tugboat with the Navy logo thrown on it. I For naval vessels, I only include actual naval vessels. And just a few minutes before I started the stream, their attacking of luxury stuff continues, and now may have just given Saudi Arabia a public excuse to launch some stuff, however little they'll actually do themselves, because they launched a barrage at Saudi Arabia, and I think it was two, but it might have just been one, but I think it was two. Two ballistic warheads did make it through and hit some stuff in downtown Riyadh. So now Saudi Arabia is like mega pissed. And the big one that doesn't change anything in terms of their military capability, but the one that everyone uh, at all the news would be focused on and has been is the Ayatollah Khomeini. Yes, he's dead. His surrounding dudes and his family are also dead. So if they keep him and they want like a new one, there's not going to be a clear immediate succession to that. The commander of the IRGC and the commander of the regular military are dead, along with uh, one by one, we've been hitting their regional directorates, their regional command centers for the IRGC. I'm just drawing random X's. These aren't the actual locations. but we've been hitting the regional and now starting to go for sub-regional directorate offices and command centers for the Revolutionary Guard to start going down the smaller generals and then eventually colonels list. The aim of doing such, now that I'm seeing it play out, is kind of obvious to go as far down the chain as the chain uh, widens out into a pyramid, the different like command links. So going as far down the chain as possible. The idea of doing that would be to go down through enough ranks to get to a point where you've made your way down to you only have the highest ranking people you leave left alive are not really people that are going to immediately know what they should do, who should do what, and whether or not they want to or should attempt to continue doing whatever they're supposed to do and attempt to reestablish something. That is usually the aim of taking that approach. Yeah. And the next wave of attacks and stuff just launched right before I started the stream. So I went on Flight Radar 24 and I saw which ones they allowed to be visible. I saw the various in-air refueling tankers in the air flying in circles. My aircraft had to fly in circles when I was flying back down here, but I'll tell that story a bit later. But so the next wave is underway right now at this instant as we speak, but won't know the results of that until a couple hours from now. We'll see what happened. All right, let me take a break and chug some water. Oh, okay. Let's see. The Strait is at exceptionally low traffic. Iran, like I said, could not like do anything to it. They could not like physically stop it. Like the best you could do is I don't know, lay mines. But if a mine layer like left port, it would just be destroyed immediately. The slowdown to about 20% of normal transiting traffic is is on the decision of the oil shipping companies themselves, who said that they're going to suspend transit for a few days and to wait and see how much Iran's ability to launch stuff gets whittled down, as they did lob a few things at 4 oil tankers, and uh, two two of them were like actually critically damaged and are burning. Two of them were like okay and made it back to port on their own. So the shipping companies themselves have said that we're going to halt stuff for at least the next few days to wait until it seems like their ability to launch stuff either dies down or they stop seeming to care about oil tankers. As the shipment companies are afraid of uh, losing the cargo and the vessel, and also they don't want to like face lawsuits from the families of like the crew members either, because then you get into that and you get like court ordered to pay out like 50 million per person or whatever. So normally it would be super full, like wall to wall, but now it's a few at a time, basically hugging Oman until you get down below the letters and then going back out to normal. And let's see, yeah, a lot of the Persian Gulf oil goes to China, but also India and a little bit of the other supply goes to South Korea, I believe. Uh, Qatar is also halting natural gas exports for the moment, which the primary one on the receiving end of that is less spread out amongst like different countries as with the oil. The China is the one heavily on the receiving end of Qatar's gas being disrupted, as China is able to supply about half or 60% of its gas at the moment, but it's been 60% for years and years because their uh, their production, their output keeps going up for now, but it's going to end up capping out in the 30s. But their demand also keeps going up and is up around 43 billion cubic feet per day right now, whereas their production is around 24, 25. So their primary imports, almost all the stuff they import, is from Qatar over there, comes by sea, but you get the picture, and from Australia, as Australia is also a major gas exporter via seaborne LNG. Price wise, unless they changed recently, no, not too much. Yeah, price wise, oil did not actually jump near the levels that you would have thought it would, even with even with the temporary disruption. Like even though the shipping companies said that it at least for the moment will only be for the next couple days. Even just that short of one usually would add a bigger spike to the market on top of the spike that just came from the war itself starting. But it only really jumped up from 67 up to between 71 and $72 per barrel. It did send gold and silver back up a bit though, or not right, not though, but as well. So we'll watch that as things go further. There's been nothing from the Houthis, surprisingly. Hezbollah jumped right in, but the Houthis, which are arguably, or I guess it's a tie between them and Hezbollah as to who's Iran's like bigger proxy group. Uh, the Houthis, I really expected them to kind of jump right in on it and start launching whatever they had remaining at like Saudi Arabia's pipelines or whatever. But they did take quite a few hits during the Red Sea campaign stuff. So they might kind of be cold shouldering Iran, and they might be deciding to hold on to what they still have on them for their own sake, to use for themselves. Which I mean, by all means, that strategically makes better sense than actually going for like global oil supply stuff and then immediately putting a target on your back. But yeah, I don't get Iran's whole like schizo shotgun fire hitting like half their targets being random like luxury hotels. I mean, people have tried to make the argument that they're sending a message, but at some point, like you've shown that you can get stuff through. So it really would have made like strategic sense if you like heavily concentrated waves on like really specific tactical targets to get that 30% air defense penetration rate. And you know, could have you could have come out of the last few days like getting to say you did some real damage. But apart from causing the damage to the naval base in Bahrain, primarily several of the maritime fuel storage tanks, you kind of just like I don't know, spinning around until you get dizzy and then letting go of the hammer on the count of three or something. But or actually, now that I think about it for more than 2 seconds, that's probably at least partially due to a lot of their commanders being dead. So I don't know, a lot of targeting decisions then I guess would be getting made by whoever's the most senior officer or senior enlisted men on site when the groups of trucks come out to launch their missile waves. So some some chain of strategic decision making probably broken, and I guess some of the target launching might be getting chosen based on just like immediate personal anger then. Let's see. Okay, I got Cyprus, Israel, Lebanon, the Iraq portion, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE. They've not, as far as I've seen, they haven't launched anything at Oman, and not too much has really happened in Syria, at least not yet. And Hezbollah is the only Hezbollah and their Iraqi groups are the only proxies like doing stuff at the moment. Houthis are kind of just chilling, and I don't know their full like list off the top of my head, but no one else is really doing anything, at least for the time being. Let's see. I'll throw in quickly in a second some of the Russia, Ukraine, and Pakistan Afghanistan war stuff because both of those are still going on. Let me check. Okay, yeah, you can always scroll back. I'll be touching back up on the West Virginia stories towards the end, anyways. How long have we been going? 45 minutes. Okay. Yeah. It was supposedly it was 4 weeks. Someone was slipping up a few times at some public announcements and was contradicting that, saying 4 days. But we're we're in day four, so I kind of think it was probably the 4 weeks one, given the amount of stuff we put there. If I could guess how long this will last, uh, you. Oh, you're different people. Okay, sorry. I just saw the brown circle profile pic. I thought it was the same person. For for this, I mean, I can't definitively give you an answer because it depends. I mean, taking out the each run in the chain of different like command levels of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, that could have a definitive timeline because I mean, there's only so many of them. There's no actual certainty to like how many missiles Iran has like buried under the mountains, and not entirely like certainty on the number of launcher trucks either. So when this winds down, since the idea this time is that we're going all the way through with it, when this winds down will primarily depend on when Iran's supply of launcher vehicles has effectively been cleaned off. As once you're out of vehicles that can launch the missiles, then the missiles become worthless. So that is going to be the primary determining factor. The from the Pentagon themselves and from all other major like public announcers tied to the both U.S. and Israeli governments, the public statement has been that it will last for at least 4 weeks. So that's assumably their assessment of how long it will take based on, I guess, how many launcher vehicles they, I guess, assume Iran probably has hidden somewhere. But it still could end up being shorter or longer because those are still estimates, but whatever estimates they're working with are going to be pretty accurate because they're going to be based on years or even decades of constant satellite surveillance and in the present day high altitude stealth drone surveillance that would have observed over time like how many uh, TEL vehicles transport erector launchers for the missiles, how many were coming out of like the factories and how many were getting moved into like each mountain tunnel or whatever. So those people who have real jobs and real salaries, unlike me, they're probably working with like actual uh, good hard data estimates, but don't have I don't have that information because I am not who my dad once was, and uh, neither who he is now. Although he's no longer in a position where he would get to know those things anymore. Is anything else? Uh, they can't really. I mean, verbally they can make like speeches about blah 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 American Empire stuff, but like Russia can't do anything for Iran. If Iran is screwed, Iran's screwed. Russia, kind of has its own self-induced difficulty here, which we'll jump into a few things regarding that. So I've said before a few times the last few streams, the frontline direction has shifted. So after creating that reach out arm over the course of 6 months, trying to encircle a particular city in about a week of fighting, uh, Ukraine erased 6 months of Russia's progress, and now the front line is actually getting pushed backwards After 2.5 years of slow, steady gains, cornfield by cornfield, Russia has switched into losing cornfield by cornfield. And oops, I meant to select the mouse cursor. Where are you, Novorossiysk? You're so deceivingly small. There you are. Ukraine did a massive drone strike on drone swarm strike on Novorossiysk. They hit a bunch of ship unloading cranes in the port. Where's the one where it hits the crane? Where's the one with the crane? I didn't bookmark the one with the crane, did I? Nope, I guess. Oh, no, it was at night. I thought it was during the day. So they were going for the ship unloading cranes, but also they hit a lot of the oil offloading pipeline stuff and the oops, I have to go in to be able to mute them. And some of the port side storage tanks and stuff. That angle was blocked by a building. This one you can see, right? Yeah, there you go. Big boom. And supposedly also there was a tanker there, uh, whether it was filling up yet or not, but a tanker at port there, who was anchored at ports, did get severely damaged. We used B1s in the Iran stuff. There's an actual picture of the one of the Iranian missiles that targeted a random luxury hotel tower in Bahrain. Uh, it's debris. This was a drone, Shahid drone storage and launching base in Iran that got taken out. I do not have everything. I literally just have effectively random stuff bookmarked because there's been so much over the last 72 hours. Smoke in Lebanon, in Beirut, as the IDF has begun pick and choose bombing apartment buildings. Israel has reopened commercial flights to and from Tel Aviv, which is not wise. Like even if the penetration rate through the air defense is really low, just don't. I really wouldn't go taking that chance with your international passengers. Strikes in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's pissed. Let's see, what else did I actually bookmark? Just smoke rising from a base. Yeah, F-15 uh, hit by friendly fire air defense. That's what I was referring to when for anyone who came after the fact when I said we accidentally pulled a Russia. So whoever the air defense crew was, I will never forgive you for destroying an F-15 because the F-15 is the best. That is my childhood fighter jet that I grew up around. As my parents back on Cape Cod when we lived up there, they worked as aviation mechanics on the F-15s that were stationed there. Clashes between Iraqi military and the pro-Iranian people. I think people get shot and die in that, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going to play it. More bombing in Tehran. Uh, the aftermath of hitting apartment buildings in Beirut. More bombing in the suburbs of Beirut. Yeah, these were Yeah, these were some of Iran's ancient Air Force pieces. They were probably inoperable. That was a storage of some shaheeds, but the other one was an ancient MiG. That's another ancient, or no, sorry, Su-22. That's another ancient Su-22. So they were probably inoperable by this point, but even if they were, doesn't matter anymore. They're gone now. Yeah, IDF is advising Lebanese in southern Lebanon to flee. Uh, Traffic building up as everyone's fleeing. Starting in Beirut as people are fleeing Beirut too. More clashes in Iraq. More explosions in Tehran. Let's see. I forgot where or what that was in context to. Oh, yeah, this. Okay. So those were hardened aircraft shelters. With this is just a demonstration. That's not the actual type of aircraft that the Iranian Air Force had there. I don't know what they had under there, but uh, it was destroyed, obviously. Footage of Predator drone firing or sorry, a Reaper drone firing a Hellfire missile. Stuff going up to do intercepts. Here's some of the aftermath of one of the ballistic missile impacts in some random location in Tel Aviv. Yeah, Dubai airport was evacuated because it got a hit. It ended up just being one hit though, and it took out like the general seating area of roughly two gates equivalent. Oh, here's more from actually at the scene. Wow, that was loud. Uh, Injured workers, supposedly celebrations in Isfahan after the actual death of Khomeini was confirmed. Uh, these were these were launchers. Yeah, so there's plenty of like combat cam videos if you want to watch. Let's see. Oh yeah, stuff ongoing still from Pakistan and Afghanistan. So this war, the last time the Taliban fought with Pakistan, it did end up ending after only 3 days. Pakistan said a few days ago that that wouldn't be the case this time. That they're gonna quote unquote finish this. So I guess they actually meant their words, and this is a now a legit war between Pakistan and Afghanistan, or really kind of just the Taliban, as Afghanistan is quite a bit fractured inside, and it's well known that everybody hates the Taliban, anyways. So that is continuing. Let's see. Was there anything? Oops. Hold on. Let me check the list here. See if there's anything else. Iran did Iran actually was responsible for one shoot down of a Reaper drone, but that is all that came out from that thus far. Where where is some of the other stuff? Let me see if I'm missing anything. No, that looks like everything I had written down. All right, that looks like everything for the moment, at least. All right, let me do a chat check. Whoa, $20. Thank you. Uh, uh, for energy, Iran is obviously independent, yes. Uh, but food-wise, no. Uh, Iran is Iran is able to feed about 75 million people, or was. That is now starting to actually drop because of the whole groundwater depletion issue. So they're likely starting to drift towards 70, but they're somewhere in between there. While they have a population of about 87 million. So they do need to import for that surplus. Those imports come from Russia. So that is not something that's going to be stopped by all this going on, though, because those are coming via the Caspian Sea, which is kind of outside the actual zone where this is happening, and we're not about to go fly up there and bomb their incoming grain ships. So they are completely they're self-sufficient, like fuel and energy wise, but food wise, they do have to import for that surplus, like 15 million people's worth or so. And they bring that down from Russia across the Caspian Sea. Or I guess occasionally it might be a shipment from Kazakhstan instead. But that's not something that's about to get cut off, at least not by this. If they get cut off from Russia and or Kazakhstan selling them excess grain, that would be on Russia and or Kazakhstan's end, them choosing to do so or having to do so because of something happening up there. They they're not they're not self sufficient in like electronics. They do like they assemble, make, and program stuff, but getting the actual individual components from the processors to the micro transistors to the palladium capacitors, the one that look kind of like a woman's purse. They do get those from China. So those are going to be blocked, but not a lot of people are in their like electronics factories at the moment because everyone's kind of not going to work, especially in buildings that are likely to be targets potentially. Everyone's kind of staying home and also fleeing the cities. So they're cut off from like sea imports of stuff, but they could they could still get stuff potentially via rerouted land rail shipments through the Central Asian countries. But they would have to arrange that, and also no one's flying shipments of anything into Iran at the moment. However, the the Persian Gulf nations though are also entirely dependent. They're actually way more so than Iran, since I used the word entirely. They're almost entirely dependent on food imports, and inbound stuff is, along with the oil tanker traffic, down to only 20% of normal flow because they have to be very narrow with it and hug the coast of the UAE and Oman. But that's only that's only a temporary installment, and even if that was an issue, even if that was a longer term issue, they could they could reroute shipments uh, through through from up north or from the ports in the west of Saudi Arabia, and then get stuff up and going elsewhere. Plus, their import needs each are not as much because each one of them, like Kuwait, only has like 3 million people. Qatar only has like 2.5 or 3 million. The UAE has supposedly 10 million people. Oman has like 4 or 5. Saudi Arabia is the bigger one. They have 36. But hopefully that addresses that question. Oh, look, Josh is here. 1 hour and 6 minutes thus far. Did I miss anything else? Let's. Yeah, I got the Riyadh strike. Uh, no, there's not. Like I said in every stream before, they have no way to like forcibly close the strait. The uh the traffic reduction is coming from the suppliers end. The shipping companies themselves are uh deliberately reducing traffic down to 20%, so they can keep them narrow and hug the coast right here until they're down to like here. And they said they're going to keep doing that for a few days until it looks like Iran's capabilities have been whittled down enough to where anything they do commit would become really infrequent. But that's primarily being done on the company's part because they don't want to lose their cargoes or have crew get killed because then they'll get lawsuits from the families and have to pay out like 50 million per person. But they also, because they want to make money eventually, uh, even regardless of how lowered Iran's capabilities are, after a little bit of time passes, themselves, the companies, would not keep holding back shipments forever because eventually that would be financially suicidal. Was there anything else? I know I caught up to there. Thank you. Thank you for the $20. That is like, oh, depending on where I buy them, that's like 5 British Sport chocolate bars. Uh, yeah, I have 12K subscribers, but in terms of actual like views, no one no one actually watches the stuff. Like my views to subscriber ratio is horrible. Like it used to be a bit better up until a few months ago. Like it was more like between 300 and 400 I could usually expect for a lot of the stuff, or at least for the more boring stuff, like the monthly data updates where I give updates on the latest like oil production levels and the graphs and stuff, or electricity demand levels, oil demand levels, natural gas levels, etc. But now it's kind of dropped down to only being like, uh, if I'm lucky, 200, but more apparently around like 150. So that ratio collapsed. Everybody left to go watch AI slop, I guess. or since interesting stuff started happening, everyone's watching like bigger charismatic political streamers, like um, I don't know, Destiny or Hassan or whatever. Plus, I there's gonna be inherently lower interest because this this is all I got for you. Because I don't have the kind of money to have a quote unquote setup or a streamer setup like real people do, and to have people behind the scenes like making effects and doing stuff for me. Yeah, that's primarily the aim. I do have Josh, but uh, Josh is unpaid and actually kind of the other way around. Uh, he actually technically pays me. I'm supposed to be his mod in his Twitch streams, but he's on a hiatus right now. A hiatus where he's spending his time on schoolwork that he procrastinates on and then crams in like the last 12 hours before it's due. But he'll be streaming again in the summer, supposedly. Okay, so for everybody who is here or who's still here, if you just got here recently, you can, we've gone through everything. You can go back, scroll back along the timeline, get to any point you want to. I am now going to go off into looking at some of the photography I got to do and re going over the West Virginia stuff. Or actually, technically, since context is needed, for anyone who's new, I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska, up here. I lived there until 2020 happened, and I did not get my job back after 2020 happened. So I had to move back down to my parents' place, and they live down in the lower 48 states, and particularly live in South Carolina around here, which I still uh, dislike in general, but I will now, I'll give South Carolina like 5% more credit after I experienced West Virginia. Oh man, West Virginia, you are something. So I that's why I was saying I finally got to fly again for the first time in over 6 years. Because last time I flew was when I, uh, you know, at the end of my job, when I had to come down here and live with my parents because I only had enough like spare cash to where I could have uh, been fine back up home for probably would have been fine for about 4 months before I ran out if I didn't get another job before then. And it was, the height of COVID. So the likelihood of getting another job at that particular point in time was really unlikely. So I would have just run out of money. So I came back down here, and this unfortunately became temporarily permanent. I am in living in exile. But I was gone this weekend, and that's why I said don't expect me to suddenly jump online if the Iran stuff starts because I was going to be gone in an internet blackout. Because me and my mom drove up to Calhoun County, West Virginia, which is the stereotype. Uh, all of the houses are like crookedly, like buckled, buckling, dilapidated things, make the windows busted too, weird angles. They're like busted, dilapidated things. Some of them are like half sunken into the ground from previous like mud and flooding. And everybody had like uh everybody has let's see, mix of random fires like in their, if you could call it a yard, then yard or lawn, not really qualifying though. But there were just like random fires just going in like these pits. I could not see what was burning. There was no one around the fire, like watching it or attending to it. There was just zero context fires were just burning. There were random trailers with like actual KKK hoods just like hanging up outside the door. There there was there were dudes outside of a bar, the bar just being somebody's trailer, but it was labeled as, you know, such and such a bar. There were two dudes out at the back of a pickup truck, uh, and they were shirtless, and they looked at us while we were passing by, and they when their mouths opened, you could see that they were missing like half their teeth. So yeah, West Virginia was fulfilling every West Virginia stereotype you could imagine. The capital, the city of Charleston, uh, the other Charleston, uh, is actually kind of nice. It's like the one nice place there. It has like civilization and electricity and internet and everything. If you go outside of there, though, you're you're asking to experience something. But that Charleston is way smaller than this Charleston down here. So to give you an idea, this Charleston has like a few dozen flights a day coming and going, most of which are back and forth from Atlanta because Atlanta is the local regional hub. But this Charleston has a few dozen flights a day coming in and out of it. People do live here and come and go from here. This Charleston has like five flights a day, something like that, all of which are on really tiny two by two seater aircraft that are carrying, you know, like 60, 70 people at most. Okay, back up home, you know, there's a million people around the Charleston area in South Carolina. Back up home, okay, really, man, why aren't you going to give me the proper resolution? Fine. All right. Well, back up home, Fairbanks, North Star Borough, around the Fairbanks area, there's only about 100,000 people, but still, there are actually not 2 dozen, but there are close to 2 dozen flights in and out every day from Fairbanks, Alaska. So the population size ain't got nothing to ain't doesn't have as heavy of a weight on it. It is just a fact of ain't nobody wants to go to West Virginia. But we went up there to visit my uncle because he was about to have heart surgery, and you know that was theoretically the last time we might see him alive. But he is alive. I just called my mom before streaming and confirmed the surgery was successful, and he is alive. There's usually, especially when you're past the age of 50, there is usually like a larger than just a decimal point. There is like an actual like whole number percentage chance you can die during those surgeries, even in the modern day. Uh, but he is alive. The surgery was successful, and thus, since the surgery was successful, the problems with his heart are resolved, and so he should hopefully be alive for more years to come after this, unless he, I don't know, gets like shot by a double barrel shotgun from one of those random like toothless hillbillies that I talked about. So then I flew from West Virginia back down here. via hopping to Atlanta and then hopping over to Charleston. And the flight back here, back home to Charleston, we ended up having to circle around multiple times because a vehicle that was crossing the runway got stuck on the runway just as we were coming into land. So we had to pull up and abort and do a circle around. And as we were coming in for the second try, the vehicle that was brought out to tow that broken down vehicle off of the runway started having its own problems and couldn't tow the vehicle. So we circled around another time, and this time we were able to land. And according to what the captain was told, who then told us, the they did get the vehicle off the runway. They just couldn't tow it with the towing vehicle, so they had to move it by alternative means with no further explanation or context given to us. So you feel free to use your imagination as to whatever that's supposed to mean. They Philadelphia experimented it off the runway. But I did get to snap a lot of pictures. For anyone who's unaware of this, I also uh, do photography, or I liked to. At one point, I considered myself a photographer, kind of. It wasn't exactly a paid one ever, but I don't really get to do that much anymore because I don't get to go anywhere. I'm kind of trapped here. As I do make money from doing all of this, the YouTube stuff. Not just this though, for any new people, because I saw some of you were new in chat, but also the big amount of my work actually goes into this. Under any video from the last 2 years, you'll see this free access drive. I'll take you to this Google Drive folder with subfolders that contain all different types of graphs that I constantly update on all different types of data. Like here's all the different countries' coal use graphs over time, for example. And then you have different economic data like inflation adjusted prices over time, GDP stuff. I have to update the inflation adjusted GDPs though, electricity data, all the different sets of oil data, and I'm constantly finding new things to make graphs about. But I started this up because a lot of sites are starting to put stuff behind paywalls. So I wanted to make something where it would still be freely available to anyone and everyone. There's no paywall. The pay buttons, quote unquote, are completely optional. But oh yeah, I forgot that I have a chat. Uh, I mean, this specifically, I don't know their names, but I have seen other people do similar content. I mean, when I've searched for different demand and production levels of different things from countries that it's difficult to get data from, I have some of the search results have been YouTube videos from people who are not me. Uh, People actually, I saw some of them from and some of them that I saw literally were people with like only 500 subs, but they had like 30,000 views on each video. So, you know, I would I would love that I'd love that view count. I'll trade away the sub count. Not below 800 subs though, because that's the minimum requirement for being able to get ad revenue. But I'll definitely take that view ratio. Uh, let's see. I'll check the other chats in a second. We lost Epic Pen. Oh well, we're going through photos anyway. But yeah, I think these these were just stuff I took while we were driving. I was trying to get the fog or the mistiness. I didn't get it on the first few. There we go. Now you can actually start to see the mist or fog we were driving through in the morning. This was still in South Carolina. Yeah, there. All right, there we go. We're getting closer. About to get into it. That one got too blurry. Delete. This was I taking them that fast? This almost looks like it was sitting still at the same spot, but we were moving. Hello, Tow Pro truck. Yeah, I was trying to get a good feel for the mist, and then it actually started hitting the windshield. Oh, that one got way too blurry. Can delete that. uh, just took some of these ones because I wanted to get it with the mist and the hill as we were going. $2.59 for gas. Yeah, all the gas prices lunged up for because of the Iran stuff starting. The ones immediately around this area, around my parents' house, were all about either 250 or 260 per gallon. They all jumped up to $3, or at least most of them. They jumped up to $2.99, except for one that we passed by early in the day that, or yeah, earlier today at like 11 in the morning that just, I guess, hadn't gotten the update yet. And the only other one that hadn't jumped up was one that still had the physical numbers that you have to like send your teenage slave labor kid out to go like slide the new numbers in. So they probably got the update at the pump, at the payment system. They just hadn't sent their designated teenager out to go change the numbers on the slider yet. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah. Here's some I just wanted to take because this was in I think this was once we were already in North Carolina. This was a nice spot coming over a hill where we could see it go down and then go up this next hill, and then you can see it going up another hill over there, and you can kind of barely see it from those two cars, but it goes down, and then you can see the slope going up there again. So it was a whole like undulating snake set of hills. I just wanted to get that, and it also had that's called heat haze when you get the milkiness in your vision like that. So I wanted to get that. Yeah, that one was yeah. We just got too close when I was snapping, so it got the underpass or the overpass instead. Yeah, up and over, one after another, undulating. The road was undulating. And then yeah, this is we basically reached the end of it or the final hill. And there I was take that was just a shot of a another interstate going along parallel. I forgot which one it was. There's another up and over the hill undulation. Let's get over the top and look what's behind it. Another hill. Can you guys believe that? What's past this hill? Oh, no. Well, you don't get to see the hill that came after it because it's around the corner. But I'll promise you it was another hill. Yeah, I think most of these were from North Carolina, or it might be starting to get into Virginia. But yeah, we're going down a hill, and then look what's there, another hill. Because we were on I-77, and I-77 is like way in the western parts of North Carolina and regular Virginia. Civilized Virginia is what I'm going to call it from now on. Uh, yeah, but even in the western portions of them, it's really hilly. And then in West Virginia, it gets into even bigger hills. People insist to me, the Alaskan, that those were mountains. No, I'm sorry. Mountains are the Appalachians are not mountains. I'm really sorry. I know that's going to hurt some people's feelings, but they're just not. Mountains are stuff like the Brooks Range, the Alaska Range, even out on the West Coast. I'll give the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada their due. Those even those are mountains. The Appalachians are really big hills. Now they're important hills because they have a lot of coal under them, and coal is cool. Oh, let me tell you about something disappointing. So uh, I didn't take a picture of it. Sorry, but so there's in West Virginia, when we were driving up there way back in 2010, we were driving up through there on our way to visit Niagara Falls in Canada. At their like welcome gift shop place, the West Virginia gift shop had little like carvings that dudes had carved out of actual rocks of coal. And I remember getting one of those, and I remember the feeling of it. It felt exactly like the actual rocks of coal that I have on me right now. Because occasionally in my spare free time, when I have that, I go down to the railroad tracks nearby the power plant close by to my parents' place because the rails around here, like a lot of the other infrastructure in South Carolina, are not really all that well maintained. So they're kind of janky and bumpy. And so the cars carrying the coal to the power plant kind of bump a lot and some of the coal spills out over the top. So occasionally, once every other year or so, over the course of my exile, I've just gone down there by those tracks near the power plant and just looked for some coal that fell out and I just grabbed me a few rocks of coal. So it felt the same as that carving I got way back when. And it was of a wolf. But somewhere along the line we lost it. So I figured I'll get a new carving. And I saw a really good carving of like an old steam engine train engine. But it looked weird and all the different ones, they felt really different. They felt smooth, they looked smooth. And so I asked the lady at the counter, are these like getting dunked in some kind of protective wax coating now or something? And she somewhat apologetically and sad about it herself, Lee, uh, told me uh, in the usual old, not your grandma, but still grandma voice, nah, honey, they don't do it the same anymore. They grind up the coal into a powder and they mix it in with some resin like a candle, make it all more stable and easy to work with. And so I was like, all right, West Virginia, you want me to label you as completely condemned? You're completely condemned. You got rid of the one last thing I'd give you credit for. The coal you're selling in the gift shop isn't even coal anymore. There's there's like whole particles mixed in with it, but it's just a resin now. You used to sell actual coal. You ruined it. You ruined everything. Yeah, here's okay, yeah, 74. Okay, this was getting into West Virginia. And there, yeah, my on these I was trying to get some of the sunsets around the hills, but my camera kept fighting with me, trying to focus on the dirt on my mom's windshield instead. Here I got a good mix of the two. I actually like this one. This is similar to a shot I took way back when, a long, long time ago. Back up home. Let's see. It was yeah, this that one came out similar to like this shot back up home, where the sun is directly south at all times, because it slightly peaks up over the mountains and goes across the sky just above the mountains in the horizon. You can see actually right there through the trees. You see those silhouettes through the trees? Those are mountains. that are 87 miles away from where I took this picture from. Yet they still come up decently above the horizon because they're well sized, being, actual mountains. Are you still going to let me scroll through, or do I have to go back? Oh no, it will actually auto keep itself. Awesome. You're getting a little too one sided. We'll delete that one. Let's get past these. Oh yeah, all these. I was trying to get a picture, like in motion picture of the flame in my uncle's furnace, but it wasn't working. And this is a look. Whoever built and designed these houses was not of high IQ. So the heaters they put in these places just have this, like the constantly going flame or the pilot flame is just open like this. Like there's bars, but they were large enough you could stick your fingers and like a good portion of your adult hand through these and just reach into the fire if you felt like it. And also the natural gas line that came up to this to produce this fire was installed right next to some electrical stuff and a power outlet. The boom boom explosion combination. So whoever designed the houses in that area was not running with like functional brain power. Yeah. Oh, okay. There it kind of focused a little bit, but it really would not cooperate. So I'm gonna have to delete most of those. I was trying to get some shots of Orion. You can kind of see him, but the moon was too bright. There's a better one. You can kind of see, but then you can see from over on this side, the moonlight was still messing with it. And then it got blurry and in motion because his dog came out and bumped into me. His dog is one of the few dogs that I'm okay with. Like I don't have any negative sentiment towards dogs, uh, but I do not want to be around most of them. It's not because I'm a cat person. Uh, it's not because of like the favoritism thing. It will be entirely tied to your dog's behavior. Like if your dog is a quiet lounge potato, couch potato dog, uh, that's cool. If your dog, like my neighbor Donnie's dog Harley, will get loud and bark at things, but he will instantly shut up if you tell him to, because he's been trained and is obedient, then he that's good too. He's a good boy. If and this is usually way more reflective of the person than the dog, if your dog is just like a noise machine, like lunging at the edge of a choke chain, then you and me are going to have some personal problems. But my Uncle Steven's dog, Sam, is really quiet and obedient. He doesn't just sit there, he does like run around and play and stuff, but he will not make noise. Now, unfortunately, the guy who lives next to Steven, you know, of all the things you would expect some like hillbilly in West Virginia to own, the guy next to Steven owns a unrelenting, non-shut up, weird, like the weirdest alien hybrid between like a Rottweiler and a Chihuahua. And that thing would not stop. Got some shots of the moon. It was almost full. It was a gibbous. That one's a little too. That one's not focused enough. Delete that one. Got in closer. I think in one of these, his dog Sam came up and bumped into me again. He wanted to know why I wasn't taking his picture. There we go. There was barely any lighting other than the moon, so they didn't. It's not going to be super detailed, but there's Sam. There's Sam not sitting still. There we go. And there's Uncle Steven, who just told Sam to sit still so I could take his picture. This is Sam. When he's not following my Uncle Steven around, when my Uncle Steven stops moving, if he stops moving for more than like 10 seconds, Sam will lay down and he kind of like loses his bodily structural integrity and everything sort of uh, weighs itself down, even though he's not like fat. It all like weighs down and spreads out into like a pile of pudding or a puddle of pudding that is in reality a golden retriever. You just don't realize it at first. And there's Sam, and Sam wouldn't sit still for that long. There's Sam, and that's my mom. He brought her his toy. So he wanted to play. Nice, Sam. Here you go, Sam. Some daytime shots of the general area around his place and stuff that people have just abandoned over the years. Like they had chairs set up around this wheelbarrow. Like I guess, as if the activity was to sit around and watch the wheelbarrow sit there and exist. This was a creek nearby coming down off one of the sides of the mountain. There's a large open field that was apparently a farm once, but they don't farm it anymore. It's also not exactly easy to get large vehicles up and down the quote unquote road that leads to the area that he lives in. So it's not wouldn't exactly be easy to actually like haul away shipments of crops or whatever. Yeah, there was a nice hill nearby with some nice grass on it. If you want to do stuff like we used to do at Wanamaker Park in the old days, you find a nice tall hill and you just roll down the hill. And since it was, north of the Virginia line, you wouldn't have to worry about rolling through a hill of fire ants as you roll down an actual hill. There's Uncle Stephen's house. This is one of the better looking houses around that area. Pretty much almost every other house, except for the person who lives across from him, pretty much every other house, picture it like a similar design to this, but like everything is buckling and the supports are like visibly bent out of shape and starting to splinter apart, and portions of the roof are caved in. Some of the windows are like out of frame, and some of the windows are just outright missing. And like to a certain level, some of the houses have just like sunken into mud that's now solidified. Oops, no, that's going backwards. Yeah, that's his neighbor or one of his neighbor's pieces. Is his neighbor's actual house is across the quote unquote street, if you want to call it that. This is apparently their like shared garage slash secondary guest house thing, I guess. Like there's an actual like little kitchen and a makeshift bedroom up in the upper layer, but the bottom layer is a garage. There's his car. There's my mom's Kia. There's a leftover tractor thing from back when crops and stuff were still grown there by the people who used to live at the farm place. Or sorry, the people. Well, yeah, the people who used to live at the farm place and do the farming. Different from the people who own it. The people who own the farm area, who also own Stephen's house, technically are this old couple, Jim and Karen, who are the ones who primarily check in on him on my mother's behalf. since she can't drive up there all the time. She's staying up there for a few weeks until he's fully recovered from his heart surgery. But ever since he moved to West Virginia, whatever reason he chose to do that, I'm not even going to ask anymore. But he, I think he said he wanted to like he didn't like people and he wanted to get away from people, which like I understand that, but and he agrees with this part. What he found when he moved to West Virginia, it wasn't exactly the kind of away from people he was looking for. He just found people that are no longer people. They've become something else. You got your random 95-year-old woman in like one of the houses across the river who just like holds her double barrel shotgun in both arms and like death glares at people out her window as they dare to drive by on the street that they need to drive by on because it's the only street to get anywhere. Uh, West Virginia depopulated over time, and the people who stayed behind in West Virginia, a lot of them ended up being like kind of the people who stayed behind out of spite. And when you're just alone with your spite for like decades, that kind of turns you into something else. But there are regular human beings there too, like Jim and Karen, who, as I said, uh, since he moved there, they have constantly checked in on him and told my mom, like he's all right, he's still alive, which he does call occasionally too, and tell my mom himself that he's still alive. But out of caution, they check in on him, and also, somewhat jokingly, my mom only trusts his claim that he's still alive like 95%. Now, there's just a different angle. It was in general around his house a wide open space. Uh, major the majority of that being the fact that it did used to be farmland like several decades ago. This was like one of the last operating parts of it. It was like a fenced off area where they grew tomatoes or something. But that obviously doesn't even happen anymore. Yeah, they are. There's Mom and Uncle Stephen. He's down in the ditch because Sam, being a dum dum, lost one of his favorite toys down there. So Uncle Stephen had to go try to fetch it out of the muddy ditch water. I should check chat. Uh, yeah, drove up. We drove up. I flew back. She's staying there for a couple weeks. Not next week, but the week after next week. I fly back up and drive back down with her because me and my dad also don't trust my mom on like a 10-hour drive by herself. So that was part of the reason why I was sent up there with her. Ugh. You need to get back to North Carolina. I need to get back to Alaska. Excuse me. Uh, yeah, there's some stuff. Did you get your tank fill up before or after the jump from 250 to $3? I used to take trains. I mean, I should do a lot of things. I'd like to do a lot of things. I'd like to fly a lot more like I used to. However, you're forgetting the part where that requires money. Now, again, my total living expenses for living independently on my own back up home in Alaska, at least, where things, for various reasons, technically were cheaper than they are down here, even though some specific like grocery prices down here are cheaper than back up home. Overall, my expenses were about 8 grand a year, and I mean, factoring in the inflation stuff, now that would probably be it would probably be closer to 9. But in the last few years up there, I was making between 11 and 13 grand a year. So, only having 8K total life expenses, that left me with, a couple of thousand every year in actual disposable income. So I was uh I was flying down, I was flying back down to my parents a lot and going to Myrtle Beach and stuff. I was constantly me and Josh both would constantly go to Baltimore. I was running around to San Francisco, down to Anchorage. I had uh, I had plans at one point to fly down to a convention in Dallas in November when it wouldn't be actual Texas temperatures. And apart from seeing some friends at the who were going to the convention, I was also gonna ride a bit out of town and go get some nice photos of the endless, infinite, mostly now starting to come to a stop. Uh, oh, what were the term? Pump jacks. The horse head or rocking horse oil wells, like the kind you see in the movie Twister, the real one from 1996, not the new one. Yeah, that's Steven trying to get his toy. There's the tunnel. There's some rocks. I was gonna go up and try to get some close photos of like the striations, but they ended up calling me over because Sam was doing some stuff they wanted me to see. Oh, I did get some close-up shots of the rocks. Not all the ones I would have liked to. Ooh, I got some moss. I got some macro shots or some really close-up shots of some moss. You can see a high detail of what the moss fuzz actually looks like close up. It is actually composed of little bulbs, basically. I think would be the best description of the shape is what it's actually comprised of when you look in like with magnification. So I got some moss macro shots and coming back out and back out. There are different types of moss. The kind that's growing in my parents' backyard is more like really thin, really tiny strands of grass or like hair, basically. And then we get to the airport stuff. This was at the West Virginia airport after the little ERJ 175 landed, because these are the only things that come in and out of that airport because nobody goes to West Virginia. This is a little two-seater, as in it has two seats on each side. And Delta, of course, because even though I haven't gotten to fly in over 6 years until now, I did not abandon my loyalty to the red arrow. Not the green arrow, but the red arrow, the one that actually exists. There we go. Much closer up. Nice, crisp shot. So this is one of the times where my camera was really cooperating, and without any stupid AI in it, since the term is kind of fake anyways, but without any newfound, fancy NVIDIA AI chips in it, because this camera is from before that era, even though that era really only started in late 2022. But this camera is from before that era. My camera somehow, managed to know to see that I wanted to focus on what was outside the window and not on the reflections and dirt stains on the window. So yeah, in they come. There's the engine, partially blurry because it was still turning. Not super fast anymore, obviously, but the fan blades were still turning. Burning jet fuel or kerosene or decahexane. Jet fuel is a heavier hydrocarbon, but it is strictly decahexane or a 16 carbon chain, whereas diesel fuel or distillate fuel oil is a blended mix, a carefully blended mix that is like I think it's 30% it's 30% quatrahexane. I don't know if it's quatrahexane, but it's 40% that, 40% decahexane, and then the other 10% at each end, because it looks like a bell curve basically. Then at each end, it includes 10% 18 chain carbon and 10% 12 chain carbon. Because of combustion mechanics, it diesel engines work better with a mixture of those different types than with a singular fuel. Whereas a jet engine explicitly runs the best and would actually kind of sputter and choke otherwise. Explicitly runs the best on a 16 chain hydrocarbon. Uh, and whereas gasoline cars primarily are burning gasoline, obviously, which is heptane, a 7 carbon chain, but does have some octane mixed in. And in the US now, for the last 50 years, because we're in a sunk cost fallacy at this point and won't give it up, still mixing in that corn ethanol and wasting all that agricultural land growing corn to make that corn ethanol, even though its net energy yield is 1.3 at best. But sunk cost fallacy, so we're still not giving that up. Uh, Over 100 million additional people worldwide could be fed with the amount of actual food grown on that land if it was just, for example, if it was still corn, even if it was just turned into maize meal. But nope, we're sticking with that ethanol. Now, ethanol is fine for a fuel if it's bioethanol, if you make it from sugarcane, just like in Brazil. And uh, only one other place actually does it legitimately. But sugarcane ethanol, depending on the growing season and your irrigation setup, will give you a net yield of anywhere from 6 to as high as 11 or 12 in the best case scenarios. But corn is literally like 1.3 at best. Typically, it comes in closer to like 1.1. There's the engine. There's Pilot Bros. One dude's uh, one dude's wearing his sunglasses because you need to make sure you signify which one of you is cooler. My precious red arrow, I return. Oh yeah, I captured some of the other stuff around just because I hadn't been at an airport for so long. Yeah, this luggage loader vehicle had a cone stuck on the back of it like that made it look kind of like a scorpion stinger. If you see what I mean. First time finally back in an aircraft seat. They changed some of the setups, so a lot of the ceilings look a bit newer on the older aircraft. I mean, they all have newer ceilings and different signs and stuff now. That is Charleston, West Virginia, right there. The window was kind of dirty, so unfortunately, things didn't come out too good for the shots of west of Charleston, at least. And also, I didn't have the window seat; someone was sitting next to me, but I did manage to get some shots out of the window when they dozed off, because they did doze off a few times. Got some nice cloud shots. We passed over some awesome cloud seas as we were heading on our way down. And this one kind of looks like, if you look at it, it kind of looks like a shark. If uh, the fin's a bit flat topped, but you can hopefully see it. There's another one back there. That one's fin is even pointier. They look like sharks uh, jumping up out of the clouds. So got those. Got more cloud sea as we were passing by. Oh, he's starting to open his mouth. He's coming to eat somebody. And I think that was as close as I could zoom before I would lose. It would go over into digitally adjusted focus. There's the Atlanta skyline as we were coming into land. And that was just the plane next to us. And here is where I got to the end of the terminal. And they finally finished the remodeling work. So the windows are available to stand at and view again. Was getting some issues with focus, but I did manage to get some aircraft as they came into land. This works much better on days that are not cloudy, but unfortunately it was cloudy. Hopefully, as I go upwards in the opposite direction 2 weeks from now, it will be sunny. But yeah, there is a Boeing 717 coming into land. I'll be on one of those on the way over to Atlanta. I did not know they were still in service. I thought Delta had retired all of them because they already retired all of the MD-88 series and the DC-9s. I did not know the 717s were still in service. Here he comes rolling in. Or no, sorry, this was someone taken off. But also a 717. Up they go. And yeah, it was near sunset. So apart from it being cloudy, that was also starting to give me an issue. But there's another 717. Or sorry, that's the same one that just landed. They're just rolling in now. 737. How far are you stretched back there? It looks like a 900, I think. 737-900 based on the stretch. Delta does not operate any 737 MAX models because they're not stupid and they're not suicidal. There's a CRJ 700. That's a pretty long neck, but I think the 900 is like slightly longer, like two windows longer. So that's a CRJ 700, most likely at least. Heading up, there's the jet fuel tanks that are constantly getting refilled. They're connected by a pipeline, but if necessary, you can. They will bring in like lawn multi-tanker trucks or multi-tank like tanker trucks to come in and resupply the ground portions. There's their parking of spare aircraft because Delta actually just has literal spare aircraft it can pull out to use if the situation calls for it. I've had that happen to me once, flying back up home to Alaska in 2014 or 15. One of the one of the flights I was about to get on, it started having some issues, and so they told us we weren't going to be able to get on the plane, but told us don't worry. Most of us would still make our connections in Seattle because we were only going to have to wait an extra like hour or so because they were just going to drag that plane away from the gate and just pull in another plane, which is when I learned that Delta apparently is so massive that it just has spare planes just laying around all over the place. Let's see. That is a A321, I think. No, it might be just an A320. Because I know the A320 is shorter and stubbier than I initially usually think it is. But that still kind of looks a bit short for an A321. But I think I'm gonna lean with that being an A321. There it goes. JetBlue, that's a CS300, or now technically it's called the A220. Two seats on one side, three seats on the other. There we have a cross of names and a cross of tails. There's the A330 Neo. And here, unfortunately, some of the reflections on the glass were starting to fight their way into the picture. I love the A330 Neo. Especially love how like actual like face personal like eye line face its window setting looks. A330 Neo looking right at you, then continuing to turn. There's another CRJ. Uh, that's 700 again. I think that's 700 again. Now it might be a 900. Alaska. The only thing of my home state that I despise is that airline. Oh, our airline does not deserve to use that name. It's disparaging to the state. Oh, those seats are pieces of plastic with leather strapped over them, like Delta seats. Their economy class seats, at least, are not like comfortable, but they are an actual cushion. The seats on Alaska Airlines are just a slab of plastic with leather strapped over it. And they, Alaska Airlines, add extra rows in their aircraft. So the leg room is even less than it is on a lot of other airlines. So that's the only thing related to my state that I don't like. But still, it's a sign or symbol of home, so I took pictures of it anyways. These didn't come out too good. Yeah, that one's a bit better. Man, the stupid window was starting to ruin things. There's another 717 going up. The window's starting to ruin things. That one came out better. Here, I'm going to delete this one. There, that is another CRJ 700. There's a American Airlines A321. That almost looks like a 757, but I'm pretty sure that's an A321. There's some of the parked aircraft over there. There's okay. I'm pretty sure that since it's Delta, especially, that's probably a 757. Another 717. Another CRJ. Ugh, that one's bad. Delete that one. 737 900, but it's a bit bad, so I'm going to delete it. Yeah, I'm deleting that one too. Ugh, no. There we go. That's a bit better. I don't like Southwest, but at least that came out a bit better. No, window was ruining things. Oops. All right, that's the end of those. Where's the hold on. I have one other thing to waste your time with, and then that'll be it. So sorry to anyone who showed up now, thinking this was still the Iran stuff stream. If you want the actual stream, you can go back along the timeline and watch the regular portion. But at the start of the stream, I did warn I would be doing this videos. Be down here. There's Sam. Yeah, uh I usually mute stuff to keep the sound from coming through the mic, but I don't know if any of it is actually making it. But this was just a bit of video I got of my mom and Uncle Steven playing with Sam and doing his favorite off the roof bounce game. Oh, he almost got it midair that time, I remember. Let's see, did I miss anything else? Uh, I can't. Okay, I can't tell if you meant that as you did or didn't get it before the price jump, because I don't know when each station did their price jump. Uh, yeah, I know there are some. It's just not. It's not really common. Like completely like nationwide. There is around my parents' place. There are, I think, two gas stations I've seen uh out of the ones that exist off the top of my head, and I'm disturbed that I've been in exile here this long enough to actually know this. I can think of and map out in my mind, I think like 3 dozen gas stations in an immediate like 10 or 15 minute range. Only two of those are regular no ethanol gas. But all right, that is going to be the end of this, unless anything comes up from anybody. So, not sorry for the long side diversion that we went into that I warned everybody out about ahead of time. If you missed the actual stream, you can go back anywhere along the timeline and get the start of it. The quote unquote actual stream is the first, okay, it looks like the first hour and a half. The first, yeah, first hour and a half, first hour and 40 minutes, maybe. All right. So, yeah, it looks like we're not going to get anything else indicating that I have to remain here. So that's it.